Okay, fine. Fine. I saw Madam Web. I was anticipating this movie, ironically, ever since that awful trailer came out. And something about bad movies attract me because, I mean, once in a while you're gonna get something that is so bad that is kind of like laughably hilarious. Last week, I saw this movie. It was called Mom and Dad Saves the Earth. That movie was a train wreck, but it was fun, hilarious. So, I was expecting something like that for Madam Web. And this is me coming from someone who is not a big fan of all these Sony Spider-Verse Spider-Verse live-action movies. Hell, I'm not even a big fan of the Spider-Verse movies, the animated ones. As you can know me, I didn't like any of those. I really despise Venom. I don't know why people like it. I didn't like Venom and Maximum, with Carnage. I still don't know why people like it. I even don't like Morbius, but people kind of turn it into a meme. And people now, and because of that, we're now having Craven, and then we got Madam Web. Okay, people, you know what? If we got movies like Madam Web and you are complaining about the quality of Hollywood because of movies like that, I will say this. This is on you. Why? Because it is you people who are giving those positives to movies like Venom or well, Morbius didn't get a good grade, but you still supported Venom. I knew from day one that Venom was not good, but I'm sorry. I know it's not your fault. You guys have the right to enjoy that, movie like that. You have your way to defend this. But I really want, you know what? Now that I think about it, I want to see people trying to defend Madam Web so hard. Because I think that at this point, that movie feels like it is undefendable. So much that I've been hearing that the main actress, Dakota Johnson, she can't even was defending it. She can't defend it. Or you could say that she has on her face that she wants to defend it, but she's so kind of like awkward on it. I haven't seen, the reactions. I'm just, in my mind, I was thinking that every single people who aren't involved into the movie, they always must try their hard, to defend the movie no matter how bad it is, because that's what it's the publicity that sells, and they're and they're trying, to to get some profit out of it, and so I can't blame them for that in one way or another. So, as you can tell from what I'm saying, Madam Web, the movie, I saw it. I was crossing my fingers that I was gonna have at least some fun watch. For a bad movie, it wasn't. It wasn't the fun bad. it wasn't the fun bad. What kind of bad it was? It was the boring, awkward bad. And once the movie ended, my first thought was, that movie was shit. No, scratch that. Shit smells better than this movie. Because at least when you smell shit, you could get some kind of reaction. This one, I don't feel like it kind of like a react and kind of like a whoa reaction. It was really boring. And on top of it all, if you're gonna try to find some kind of amusement on how it is, the amusement comes from how it making you wonder how anyone got involved into this disaster. This disaster that it's not just boring. It is messy. It is how can some words fail me. It's condescending. It is all over the place. The script is and the dialogue is some of the worst you could have ever seen. There's cringe. It's lazy. It's exposition heavy. Almost you could put a list of a lot of things that it makes this movie totally bad. And while some people might find some enjoyment of it, trying to pinpoint out of it, not me. God, I'd rather watch an Uwe Boll movie compared to this. That's how bad that movie was. And you know what? This is also coming from me who I'm not entirely 100% familiar with the Madame Web character. The least that I know is that she's a clairvoyant from the Spider-Verse movies. The Spider-Verse comics. My only exposition to this character was in the 90s animated series, where she's this old lady who oversees the dimensions, as far as I can remember. Many people just told me that she's just kind of like a fortune teller. That's the least of all the things that I can tell about Madame Web as a character. She's an old lady, but of course, because they wanted Sony wants for one, it wants to keep the license of the Spider-Man franchise. Because it doesn't want to lose it, it is desperate to make all these movies and even create this cinematic universe of the Spider-Man villains without Spider-Man. Well, although Madame Web is not a villain, but you get the idea. What was the second reason that I was going through? Man, it just things are kind of like popping out of my head now when I think about it. But you know what? Let's make this another one of those vlogs. The vlog that I'd rather tell you the whole movie. I don't care if I'm spoiling it because this is one of those. It's gonna get the night swim treatment that you have. That I gotta tell you the whole movie. So, but I gave you the whole idea. The whole idea of what this movie is. That it is messy. The dialogue is awful. The acting is uninspired. Everybody looks like they don't want to act. It has awkwardness. They don't even try humor. The camera effects is is one of the worst. The editing is terrible. It tries all these camera tricks, and it is kind of as close to giving you seizures if you are especially sensitive to bad camera movements. To be fair, at least it doesn't try to kill you like that movie called In the Earth. But in the gist of it, this is not worth watching it on a big screen. I don't even recommend you to watch it on a TV or live stream or a streaming service or whatever it is. Although these kind of lessons the pain from that. So you know what? Yeah, this is one of his big spoil review. If you wanna see me tear apart this movie limb by limb, and now's the time. So I'm just giving you the warning, but I did give you that. That was really bad, really really bad. So here goes. So the movie starts with the jungle with this woman making an expedition in the jungle, pregnant. I don't know why sometimes people insist of showcasing that you want to see an empowering woman, they're gonna do dangerous things while pregnant. Isn't that endanger their child even more, especially doing expeditions in the jungle, where she's gonna have the risk of being bitten by a poisonous insect or finding wild animal that is gonna eat her or something like that. Okay, but anyway, she's doing an expedition. She's trying to look for kind of like a spider with this guy. But funny thing is that the first instant I see this woman, for the most part, I couldn't stop watching at her pimple. She had this really noticeable pimple on her cheek. But I don't know. I don't know why I had my fascination with a pimple that she had on her cheek. But anyway, she was looking at the spider. She gives some kind of exposition that she's kind of feeling like hurt and she needs, a spider so they can find some kind of cure. And also she begins to say that there's some kind of like tribe in which they're called themselves La Araña. Nice name. Araña is spider in Spanish. Creative, yeah. But anyway, she finds the spider, but she doesn't realize that the guy who was with her, he betrays her, shoots some other guys. Then she gives some monologue to because saying that I was living in poverty or something like that, and you didn't help me, but you have your simple life and all this stuff. And she kind of begs for her life, but he shoots her. But instead of shooting her in the head, he shoots her on the chest. I don't know why he didn't bother for that, but the point is that he steals the spider. And the woman then she gets rescued by this spider people called La Araña, something like that, and she gets apparently put on kind of like the water, which on some kind of water, and then she gives birth to the baby, and she begins to say that they're being chosen or something like that, and something like that. Then we jump like 10 years later, kind of like 20 something, and we see our main character played by Dakota Johnson, who is this character named Cassandra Webb. Get it. So she's a paramedic. she tries to save people, even though she's like kind of like not caring or something like that. She's like, yeah, but I don't just do my job or something like that. She even is a little bit ungrateful when this child comes and give her kind of like a drawing. Although I don't know why the child gives her a drawing of me, mom, and dad. Isn't it supposed to be technically a drawing of her instead? So it's, I don't know. And so basically, she's this paramedic. She's doing her work because she feels obligated for it. She apparently has a grudge against her mother because it doesn't technically show her reason, even though I don't think she has kind of like a legit reason to hate her mom, considering that her mom died at birth. Okay, but honestly, here comes. Then after she tries to rescue this guy, she gets into the car after rescuing the passenger, and then she falls from the bridge with the car and all the things. Then she bumps her head and she gets rescued. Somehow she survived that, and she is with his friend, played by Adam. His friend partner played by Adam Scott, who, believe it or not, he's Ben Parker. Uncle Ben, who is gonna be a relative for Peter Parker. Let's continue on. So because of that, now Cassandra, she wakes up her ability that she apparently gets the powers of Final Destination, in which sometimes she sees into the future and all this stuff. Whatever something spontaneous happened that she just can't control it. You know what? Scratch that. She doesn't have the powers of Final Destination because that will most of it involve that. Although that comes later. You know what? Let's say that she has the powers of Raven Simone from That's So Raven. That's me trying to be a little bit cute. So she's technically confused of all these things happening. But in the meantime, then we got our villain, who is the guy who killed off our protagonist's mother. I'm gonna tell that the guy, his name is Ezekiel Sims. He's played by Atar Time. And the thing is that, yes, he got the spider, apparently because he wanted to, apparently he got spider bitten by this guy, because later he's gonna show that he has spider power, like Spider-Man, without shooting web. But the thing is that apparently the spiders have this sixth sense that could see them kind of like into the future, and then he seduces this woman to give him some of technology so he could harness the technology in order to make his visions into the computer or something like that. I don't know what magic thing they're gonna go through. It's kind of like I don't understand it. But the point is that the guy is being haunted by nightmares in which he thinks that he gets visions that 10 years later, three girls in tacky Spider-Verse costumes, they're gonna kill him. And he doesn't want that to happen, so he gets that technology, and he even hires this woman so they can Big Brother the whole city and then track down these three girls so he can kill them in order to prevent that future. But of course, while he's on the search, then we got Cassandra, dealing that oh my god, I'm becoming miserable because because my powers are looking at the vision of the future and I can't do anything, especially because she couldn't save she couldn't save a paramedic who got killed in an ambulance accident. And of course she gets so depressed that she even watched the Alistair Sims Scrooge, because it's about the future and all that stuff, even though it's not even a Christmas movie. So after she uses her power accidentally to save a pigeon, she then decides, to attend the funeral of her friend, the paramedic friend. And apparently then she finds out that the three girls, apparently by fate, they are on the same subway. And our protagonist then sees the visions that they're gonna get killed by this guy. And so she put up a fuss, and she basically leads those three girls, to get away from the guy before he gets killed. Why? Because she doesn't want, because it's the right thing to do or something like that. And of course, people, when they see that, they begin to accuse her as a kidnapper, and while the girls are like, it's really confused and all this stuff, she's just like, no, come with me if you want to live. I feel like, kind of feel like a plot of the Terminator, because yeah, the guy first appeared without, trying to kill them, and then later he reappears, showcasing this. His powers, in which he can crawl through the ceiling with wearing this kind of like a Spider-Man costume, but yeah, it's kind of like a Spider-Man costume if you cross it with a Kick-Ass costume. So yeah, our protagonist then kind of she's go with the girl, and she tries to explain what is happening, even though the girls are kind of like, what's going on and all this stuff. And I think that it is time for me to tell you about those three girls. These three girls, they lack personality. Well, their personalities are very two-dimensional, and they are so obnoxious. Obnoxious to the point that I swear that these girls, they came from the same university from that shitty Black Christmas movie. That's the best, and their acting is so wooden that I don't know. They try to force in that these girls, they're kind of special because they're gonna turn into superhero, but there's no chemistry in these girls. That even with Dakota Johnson, who, I don't know. I ain't hearing people trying to defend Dakota Johnson by saying that I know she's trying her best and all this stuff. No. Dakota Johnson, you're much to blame on this garbage than this. You're part of this. And continuing back with the girls, they try to make us feel sorry for these girls because they have kind of like parent issues. Even though all of this they showcase about mostly on exposition. I mean, we got kind of like the shy nerdy girl who had these glasses and blonde, and well, because they're shy and nerd, that's all that we can get. We got this girl who is kind of like rebellious, and she flipped Cassandra at one point because, well, she's rebellious. She's rebellious because her parents are always working, and one of them apparently they go to Beijing, and apparently she's kind of like the rich girl that nobody understands or something like that, but I don't know. Her attitude is a little bit too mean-spirited and a little bit too take it seriously. And the other girl is, well, the Latina, because, well, her backstory is that her father, she lives alone, and her father is deported. Yeah, deported because, well, she's Latina. I didn't want it to play that card, but you get the idea. I'm not gonna go into that. But either way, these three girls, they get kind of like in your nerves, and this is where I'm gonna also talk about the dialogue, because the dialogue is the most cringe-inducing you could ever hear. It's so bad that you couldn't even take it seriously. And the lines are executed, it's almost like there's no passion. Is as much. I can't believe it to say. I can't believe to say that, but even the awful Fantastic Four movie had a little bit of passion compared to this. I can't believe I'm saying that. And that awful Fantastic Four movie is awful. How did it went there? Nobody's trying. So you got these four bitching around because because apparently they have to be hidden so this guy doesn't kill her. Our main character basically have almost no reason to protect these three girls outside that she wants to do the right thing. And she makes the dumb move that she leaves them in a forest. And she said, I'll be back in 3 hours. For a paramedic, you're not very intelligent for that. She puts them in that forest, and she leaves them there without any source of water or food. Or again, in the forest where things can happen, and she just took her time, to look at her mother's stuff, so she can find out, well, where do I get this power? And they even wanted to play cute by her trying to making a wall climb, because it was like, oh, now I can wall climb. Oh, no, I can't do that. And honestly, this is kind of like the only moment in which the audience, they kind of gave a kind of like a small giggle or a laugh, although I didn't find it funny. Maybe they were kind of like desperate for that. And then, of course, what a surprise. The three girls, they get, of course, they don't trust Cassandra because, well, she drops them there with very little explanation or proof that she can see the future, and then they decided to go to a diner, and of course they gorge on the food. They hit on some people, so they can jump on the table and start dancing, like these high school girls, like they were in high school. And then some fat guy, he sees on the newspaper, oh, these are the children that were apparently kidnapped. And then he gives the call, to the police, and of course that pinpoints the bad guys to point her. Let alone that, my biggest question is how those news fly to make it on the print in a few hours. It hasn't even passed a day, and there's kind of like a newspaper with saying that kidnapper there, and in just a couple of hours. How did that happen? Oh, and by the way, to make things even worse, showing that Cassandra is dumb, she told them that they're gonna have to wait for 3 hours. And guess what? The hours pass and it becomes nighttime. So that probably means that you leave those girls without food, drink, or shelter and anything. You just drop them in the middle of the forest, and to the point that it became nighttime. You know the stuff that is gonna happen in the middle of the woods in the dark. Best paramedic of New York. So yeah, they get pinpointed by the bad guy, and he decides to go to get them. But of course, our hero finds out that the girls are finds out that the girls are not on the spot. Big surprise. Then apparently she gets kind of like the vision that they're gonna that the girls are gonna get killed and she's gonna get killed by the thing. And then she's like, oh, okay, now I'm gonna do something. And she goes with the car in high speed and to reach on time and then stop the guy by by hitting him with a car. And of course they escape, but not before our protagonist gets hold by the guy, because apparently the guy has kind of like this his gloves that have some poison in that when you hold him, it kills your neurons and hold it long enough, you're gonna get killed or something like that. At this point, I think it's time for me to talk about the camera work and the awful editing that this movie has. First of all, for movies that you want to call them action-oriented, the editing gets so tight and so fast that you don't understand what's going on, and sometimes things kind of like show up and kind of happens that it's almost like the movie has some kind of seizure that it kind of at quick glance flashbacks into whatever happened, sometimes for a few seconds. And you kind of get like lost, and especially this comes especially on when visions happen. When the visions happen, there are moments in which they kind of play out kind of like the Final Destination, in which things will happen kind of like normally, or sometimes you're gonna get it kind of like a hint, and then after things kind of like happen, then the movie turns the rewind button and it cuts for our main protagonist, just standing there like, oh my, this is my vision or something like that. So in some other movies, I can see this being kind of like clever or used spontaneously, but doing it kind of like all the time, sometimes it feels annoying to the point that it makes you question whether that happened or not. I wouldn't have minded if the movie kind of becomes a little bit clever, that kind of plays with the audience by saying that, oh no, oh man, is this real or this is not? Did this happen or this not? It may be a pretentious kind of a pretentious kind of storytelling, but at least it kind of has a little bit of an excuse that have it kind of like pretentious. But this whole thing kind of comes up so boring and so uninteresting that it feels like, why bother? Yeah, and sometimes the camera moves kind of like going around in circles. Sometimes I kind of swear that it does go upside down, and that it feels so full of itself. So anyway, back to the story. So Cassandra rescued the three annoying girls. The girls are kind of like annoying, and then Cassandra technically scolded by saying, "I told you have to be there. You're condescending. You're full of yourself and all this stuff." And I was, but in my head it was, you lived in the forest. So they go to a hotel, and apparently, yeah, they have kind of like this exposition bond in which our protagonist, they try to bond out the girls and the protagonist are so unlikable that I kind of don't care, and I also want to reiterate that the movie also thinks that is so epic that it gets sometimes bombastic, even in the most awkward ways, I'll say. So everything becomes so awkward. And then when the girls are sleeping, our protagonist Cassandra, she apparently apparently, she decides to go back to the diner, and then she gets vision of the guy because I forgot to mention that the guy at first he didn't care for Cassandra until his assistant is like, hey, we finally traced who is this woman. She is the daughter of the woman that you killed, and he's like, huh? So how's that possible? And then, like I was saying, Cassandra goes back to the wreck diner where the action scene happened, and she apparently get this psychic communication with this guy, and he's like, you should let them alone because they're gonna kill me or something like that. And he's like, well, but you kind of deserve it, deserve to die or something like that. And he kind of begins to say exposition, saying that he reminds her mother or something like that. And he kind of begins to spill out the beans, and guess what? That thing never happened, apparently, because Cassandra wakes up in the middle of at night. Apparently she had kind of these visions and nightmares. I don't know how in the frick she managed to have a communication with the bad guy. Kind of like a psychic connection. Nothing was established, and then the next day she talked with the girls, explaining everything and saying that, hey, I know now that this guy, he's going to kill you because in 10 years you're going to kill him and all that stuff. How that psychic connection went on. Even if you want to play out with magic and psychic connections, there's still a rhyme and a reason, but this doesn't feel like it happened or something like that. It just appeared just because they needed to have the character have all the answers to everything. It's as bad as that, again, Black Christmas, the horrible version, in the moment in which our protagonist suddenly had all the answers. So then she technically teaches them CPR in order, to make them build some trust or something like that. And then she say that, you know what? I think my mother was up to something. So I gotta go to Peru to seek the answer, to see all these people called La Araña or something like that. So she leaves the girl with Ben Parker, his friend. And then she goes to Peru in the middle of the jungle, and then she finds the guy. And it kind of even flashes with the guy with the spider costume, and then suddenly from native origin, now the guy we have kind of like the guy who is with a scientist cloak. And then he shows her to the pond inside a tree, which, now that I think about it, it's almost like he went to Pandora from Avatar. So he tells her that, yeah, the guy went for selfish reason, but your mother was something like that. Something like, we don't understand how these people had this connection to the mother, something like that. And that he tells her that she is awakening her power about that stuff. And then he shows her by pulling out what was it? He pulls out a Doctor Strange, where he pushes Cassandra in her soul, leaves her body to be on the pond, and then we see kind of like the whole backstory, so she can see that what her mother went through, where she was killed, and when she had the pimple on her cheek, and then we get the reason why she went to the jungle pregnant. The reason is because when she was about to give birth, the doctor tells her that the baby was gonna have some kind of incurable disease on the muscles or something like that. I don't remember what it is. And then she's like desperate, saying that, is there a cure? No, there's no cure. Sometimes they say there is some kind of cure, but there is kind of like risky something like that. And she's like, I'm gonna go for my baby. I'm gonna do whatever it takes to save my daughter, save my baby, or something like that. So So that basically puts our character like, oh my god, my mom, she raised her life for me. I thought she hated me. Again, how can a mother hate you when you weren't even born? Okay, maybe it's debatable by saying. Maybe it's debatable in a way that, okay, maybe the mother kind of could say that, oh, I hate being pregnant and I didn't want to do that or something like that. But still, there was almost like not a good basis on why she will think that the mother hated her. Or you hated her because she died because on childbirth. How's that possible? I can't think about it. And two, that I wanted to say. So yeah, it was novel and fine that she wanted to, go for a cure on something like that while risking her life, going into the jungle where things can happen while pregnant. But you know what? Here's the thing: going to the jungle or not, the child is still in danger. You still endangered your child. At least hire someone of good faith to get that medicine. You don't have to do it yourself. At least that's the smarter thing to keep the baby safe, unless something happened. Like for example, let's think about it and make this kind of like a worst case scenario. Imagine that she finds out that nobody wants to do the job. Nobody, as much as she wanted to pay anyone, she finds out that nobody is like, no way, Jose, I'm not going there. It's too dangerous. I don't want to risk my life. She doesn't find anyone to do it. So she's like, you know what? Nobody can do it. I will do it. My baby might die, but I'm gonna risk it or something like that. I mean, it might be still to endanger the child, but at least what I'm giving you the idea is technically an excuse for a worst case scenario situation. But anyway, finally the Dakota Johnson character wakes up, and she's like, well, my mother didn't hate her. No, your mother didn't hate you, or something like that. Well, but about these powers and all this stuff. Well, the power just came to you, but how do I control it? You'll know when to control it, or something like that. And then when the time comes, you're gonna do it, or something like that. So anyway, yeah, she gets this revelation, and then she decides to finally go back to save these 3 girls, who, mind you, she's basically treating them like almost like they're girls, but she has almost like no business with them. And besides, they're unlikable or something like that. Okay, but anyway, then we jump to the girls and Ben Parker, who is now with I think it was his wife or something. It's Aunt May, I think it is. You know what? I am lost to that. But anyway, the woman is pregnant, and now she spilled the water, and it is the signs that the baby is gonna give birth prematurely. So basically, then he decides to drive to drive her to the hospital alongside with the other 3 girls. The 3 girls, they have no reason to accompany them. They're being searched not just by the police, but a killer. And in this, and I don't care if the movie takes place kind of like in 2010 or 2020 or something like that. I don't remember what date it took place. But still, we live in a Big Brother world where your face will be exposed with any kind of media technology that not even a hood in your over your head is gonna protect you 100%. So and they had no reason to accompany her. Uh, uh, you will say that, well, they're gonna help her because she's gonna give birth and they're gonna need the assist, all the help they can get. But these girls are they're not supposed to be exposed, and they just got there. They couldn't even call the. Can't they even call an ambulance or get a neighbor or to help or something like that? But the girls, it's like, oh yeah, and lo and behold, they get found out by the bad guy. Then, of course, he decides to chase them out. And Madam Web, Madam Web, she's not even Madam Web. So Dakota Johnson goes there. She goes with the car and rams the guy. And then we get kind of like this chase scene. And apparently she now has to know how to control, the vision. Because we get kind of like flash forwards of the visions that she's getting. Okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And she kind of get the powers of, That's So Raven / Final Destination / Happy Death Day or something like that. So we get kind of like this elaborate moment where they try to get away with the guy then try to call a helicopter in order to rescue them, and then and then it kind of turns into Final Destination, in which that in Final Destination, the biggest gimmick is that someone gets a vision of people dying, and then they get away from this, and then people die. But then the gimmick of Final Destination is that because the people technically escape from death, then apparently some magical force it tries to kill them almost in the most ridiculous and imaginable possible. Although in the Final Destination movies, those moments get ridiculous to the point that it's entertaining. I watch almost all the Final Destination movies and they're awesome. But awesome, at least in a bad but hilarious way. But in Madam Web, they take it a little bit so seriously that and it gets so constricted to one segment that it feels like the movie suffers from seizure, especially during the climax. And by the way, later, while our protagonist is trying to save 3 girls that she probably doesn't know, she couldn't save the guy from the helicopter because he gets seemingly killed by the spider guy. And then, out of nowhere, they try to make these battle scenes in which the 3 girls, they get separated, and the guy is like, all right, miss, you can't save all 3 of them. And then Dakota is like, oh yeah? Then watch me. She awakened your power. And then what she does, she astral projects herself into 3 spirits to save all 3 girls to safety. Again, I'm not knowledgeable on the lore of Madam Web in the comics. Does she astral project herself to physically save people? I don't know. The most I know of her is that she's a clairvoyant with very high wisdom of the multiverse. But that's just me from what I remember from the Spider-Man animated series. Does she have those powers? Whether she had their powers or not, that wasn't in the Spider books. It is as bad as Miles Morales electricity powered because spiders. Sorry for all this Miles Morales fans. but there was no indication that she had astral projection powers. Nowhere. This is a power. It came out of her ass. Let's continue on. Then she leads the bad guy into her clairvoyant trap so he can outdo himself and get crushed by the loose signs. The guy gets killed, and she gets kind of like this lame line in which he says, "You're not gonna get killed by the 3 girls. If you're gonna kill like me or something like that." Yeah. Okay. The guy gets killed. Our Cassandra character, she falls into the water and bits of firework fall into her eyes. Underwater, I might add. I don't know how physical. And then the 3 girls rescue her, do some CPR in which she taught them, and then she awakes. And yeah, then we get the conclusion that Ben and his wife, they get the baby. I was uncle or something like that. I don't remember. And of course, Cassandra it becomes blind. The 3 girls begin to look for her because I'm like a mother or something like that. And then we get kind of like the epilogue in which now Cassandra now has kind of like these glasses because of course the Madam Web from the comics, she always wears shades. The girls are still obnoxious, and then she's like you 3 girls are gonna be like heroes or something like that. Even though they don't show how these girls are how can I say, that kind of brings me to the question, how these girls are hero material. They don't have talent. Apparently it's gonna showcase that they're gonna have superpowers. In which one of them apparently has can lasso with energy. Another one has kind of like it kind of like become like the Dr. Octopus, but more Dr. Octopus / Invader Sim spider legs. And the other one I don't even remember. I think she's gonna swing better or something like that. And they're gonna have kind of like, we see them in the costume, and then we see Cassandra with a kind of like a even red costume. It was like, you girls are gonna get stronger or something like that, and something, they're gonna turn into heroes or something like that. And then the end. Whatever you do, she saw it, please, no. I just hope somebody sees that future and try to stop it, just like Cassandra tries to stop a bad guy for killing the 3 girls. Oh, God. And by the way, there is no mid-credits and no end-credit scenes, thank goodness. That was boring. Yeah, and honestly, this is the whole thing that I was with the movie. I was bored as hell. And you know what? The audience was probably bored. I was seeing crickets. I could hear the crickets going through with it because nobody not even give kind of like a small laughter or something like that, except for that moment in which she falls awkwardly trying to climb a wall. But nobody laughed. If there was an attempt of humor, they failed. If there was an attempt to make us feel bad for the character or feel sympathetic about the characters, fail. To feel threatening about a villain, fail. I was even to the point that I was like, understandably in the villain's side, because they gave us the exposition that he lived in a poor country and well, he just did what he did or something like that. And you know what? Then, yeah, he was evil. He also poisoned a woman just to get, some secret. But you know what? He had, as bad and evil as he was, he had a motive. he had a legit motive. He didn't want it to die. Uh, uh, okay, maybe that's me overanalyzing it. I don't want to take kind of like villain side, but at least he had kind of like a motive at least. And wouldn't here's something. Wouldn't it have been funny that Cassandra and the guy have seen all this vision, and then she basically saves the wrong people. Imagine that. That will be an interesting twist. The twist is that the three girls they become they weren't heroes. They were villains. Especially how obnoxious and uninteresting these girls were, I wouldn't even blame it. But you know what? That will be an interesting twist. It will be an interesting twist that 10 years later, it will be showcased that the girls were actually villains. But no, it doesn't go that. Storytelling, it was kind of like by the books or something like that. But no. No one cared. And if no one cared about this movie, why should I? Is it as bad or better than Morbius? Some people are saying that this is a tad better than Morbius. I don't want to go there because honestly, I think this is worse than Morbius. Because as horrible Morbius was, at least Morbius, they have some moments that it becomes memeable and unintentionally hilarious. I mean, in Morbius we had kind of like this villain who chewed the scenery to the point that it's embarrassing, but at least it's something. This one not. Nothing is memeable. Nothing is memorable. Everything is boring and awkward. I think I talked enough about Man and Web, and you know what? I don't regret spoiling you the whole movie because this is something that doesn't deserve kind of like going to it. But in ways, yes, I don't regret still going on movies like that. But yeah, it hurts my pocket because I gave like $13 to a movie like that doesn't even deserve its money. Although I already got over a little bit with that, considering that I wish I could be more bold, like Stan and Kenny in South Park, in which they saw a shit movie and they wanted their money back. I tried that when I saw the Michael Bay Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and it failed. But you know what? I got over with that. I can't do that, especially when I'm wet, because I do remember that there were moments. It was kind of like 30 minutes in which I was sitting there and I was like, I went out. But you know what? Still ranting about a horrible movie is still fun. I'm not doing this for fame or anything. It's just a hobby. I just do it because it's a hobby. It kind of makes me feel good, ranting on a good movie. Or sometimes if I see a good movie, I like to praise it. Although, like always, never try to overhype because I don't want to overhype something like that. Okay, but speaking of overhype, now that I think about it, I think I kind of hardly gave something positive to give it kind of like the benefit of the doubt. And you know what? As much as I tried, it's kind of hard. It's hard to say because how can I say? In the case that I see an Orbo movie a few weeks ago, it was called In the Name of the King: A Dungeon Siege. That movie was terrible. It was boring and all this stuff, but at least it gave us one memorable moment in which these stupid orcs, they set fire to one of them to catapult it, and that was unintentionally hilarious at least. But not this one. I'm sorry, but it's just February, and now this movie is topping one of the worst movies of the year. Bet you didn't see that coming.